Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back to the show. We're here today, episode 2595 of the Cabral Concept. We're going to be going through 5 easy tips to curb emotional eating. Now, before I get started, I want to share with you, I don't think there's anything easy about emotional-based eating. So I just want to put it to you in that way. I want to be sensitive around this topic, but what I wanted to do is give you non-complicated, easy to implement strategies that will hopefully make emotional eating that much less of an issue. But as I go through these specific steps, I want you to understand is that myself, my team, we are all sensitive to emotional-based eating and also eating-based disorders that many people in our practice come in with, whether you call it disordered eating, eating disorders, however you want to label it. Understand is that it doesn't matter who you are, what you're dealing with, because I want you to understand is that everyone is dealing with something. So when I say to you that, okay, I suffered from autoimmune issues, all sorts of food sensitivities, gut issues, brain fog, all sorts of issues. Like, okay, I had mine. Someone else might be dealing with skin issues. Someone else might be dealing with migraines. Someone else might be dealing with hormonal issues or infertility. And others are dealing with maybe emotional-based eating. Some people dealing with depression and anxiety. So each one of us has our own challenge in life. It's kind of where our body goes to when we're not well, when we're not balanced. And emotional-based eating is one of those things. So what I want to do today is really not talk about necessarily the lab testing that you could do or finding your underlying root cause and balance in terms of your nutritional deficiencies, et cetera. You can always do that. You know that we're there to help you. But what I want to do is give you strategies that you can start with today. Because what I found is this: anyone dealing with emotional eating and even disordered eating, that when things start to get bad, they start to snowball and it gets worse and worse and worse. But I've also found the flip side, that when you are able to somehow flip the switch and you're able to stick with that, it actually gets easier and easier and easier. And the goal is then you feel less stress, even around the thoughts about emotional eating. All right. So that's hopefully how I'm able to serve you here today with 5 easy tips to curb emotional-based eating. These are things that I've picked up really just over the years, working with many clients in our practice, both women and men. And the first one is this. And I've done a show about this. We just have to understand what triggers us. We were doing well. Things were going so well for a few weeks or even a few months, and then boom, got together with maybe your college friends and you went out, had a great time, had dinner, had a bunch of drinks, and now you can't turn it off. Now for the next week or two, you're having dessert every night, you're having alcohol, whatever it might be. These things happen. And what I like to always share with people, and I think I actually spoke about this on Monday. I did, so just 2 days ago. If you want, you can check out that show. That was episode 2593, is that success leaves clues. And it leaves clues for when we're not doing well, too. Not when we're just doing well. So it's kind of like, you have a game plan of what really works, like the blueprint that you want to follow. But you also want to have a blueprint of what doesn't work, right? And you want to be able to write those things down, whether it's journaling or just, I really believe that you do need to write it down, because we humans have an interesting way of continuing to repeat the mistakes of the past, right? Unless we actually study those mistakes and we don't let them then be a part of our present. And so what I want to share with you is this. We all have our triggers. It's not unique to you or me or anyone else. I find that, again, I'm not good with keeping dessert foods in the house. Because if I have one in the house, Like, let's say it's a Saturday night and I decide to have dessert. Again, like I don't have an issue with someone having dessert. There's a lot of people out there who are really stringent about everything. I'm not that person. I just try to have a dessert outside of the house, right? So I'm out at a restaurant. And I'm not saying that it's good food for me or not. I'm just enjoying it. I decide to enjoy it. Now, if it's in the house though, and I have it one night, my brain, which loves to produce, or my body, which loves to produce lots of dopamine, which goes to the brain, then wants it the next night. It's in the house. It's there. There's a location to it. So for me, it's ease, access, and then it's like location. So I just, again, like I know for me, don't keep it in the house. Not your favorite things, right? Because if you get started, it's just gonna be harder to break. It's not like I can't break it. I do break it, but it is easier. So just understand that we have to know that our triggers, and it may not be for you like location or sweets or whatever it is. It could be anything. And sometimes it's just a stressful day. So understand what your stressors are. Like, okay, a lot of people, they have a super stressful day. They come home, they want a glass of wine or a bottle of wine. And if that is for you a pattern, you want to look into that. And again, if you're interested, begin to try to break that pattern or at least recognize it first. The second one is, let's say that it is a stressful day, because this is a big one for many people. You come home and you open a bottle of wine, and that is your coping mechanism. It is my opinion that we can find ourselves in a dangerous and unhealthy situation when our coping mechanism is food or alcohol or drugs or cigarettes or whatever it might be. So we want to look for, okay, it's been a stressful day. What is a different outlet for me in order to be able to blow off stress? For me, I always work out. It's how I end my day. Like that's almost what I do like 4 or 5 days a week. Like that's what I'm doing. They're not long workouts, 20, 30 minutes, honestly, 20, 30 minutes. But I put on a podcast that I wanted to listen to, a video that I wanted to check out, something that I wasn't able to do during the day while I was working. I put that on and I'm laughing. The next thing I know, like 5 minutes later, I'm laughing at the video or joining in with the podcast, whatever it might be. And I'm blowing off some stress and steam by exercising, right? Because I'm present in what I'm doing. So what I'm saying for you is it might be going for a walk, might be journaling, calling up a friend, speaking with your spouse, playing with your kids, meditating, doing binaural beats, or a meditation inside the iBowen app. Any of those things are fantastic. So find a different way of coping with that stress or whatever your trigger is. The third one is this, is that I like to, if I do want something after dinner, which I train my body not to want that something after dinner because it is a habit, and I was in the habit for a long, long time, because I do enjoy eating. Like that's the thing, is like, I enjoy it. So what I do though, is I wanna make sure that I am stocked up on lots of healthy things. And so I have healthy foods available. One thing that I do, and again, it may work for you, it may not. I get a big bunch of rainbow carrots. And I know this is gonna seem totally random, but they're a little sweet. Carrots are a little sweet. But the thing is, like, how many carrots are you really gonna eat? I mean, for me, I'll slice them up. That'll be part of it. So like I have to do the act of slicing them up. Maybe 1, maybe 2, but I've got like orange, yellow, purple, rainbow carrots, and I'll put them in a bowl and I'll just have some rainbow carrots after dinner. There's a little sweetness to them. I know it's gonna sound strange, but you have to try it. Give it a shot. And it's just that little bit of sweetness that seems to do really well with my body. High in fiber, high in vitamins, it's satiating. And again, I check everything. So I look at my sleep scores, and I've got great sleep scores, even if I have those after dinner. So it's something to look at. Again, this isn't gonna be right for everyone, but stock on what you do enjoy. Maybe for you, it's some celery and you do a little almond butter on it, or walnut butter, whatever you want. And you put a couple raisins like you were a kid, like little ants on a log, right? And you enjoy that. Whatever works for you for maybe a healthier treat after dinner, might be able to help with some of that emotional eating. So sometimes in the beginning, it's a replace the unhealthy thing with something, and then eventually it might be the removal itself, all right? So just make sure though you have those healthy options. So I have healthy options in my fridge. For my daughter, well, like my oldest daughter, she loves cucumbers with sea salt on them, okay? After dinner, I'm hungry, I'm still hungry. Well, you can have additional food, like we've got all sorts of different things that you can have. Like we've got some coconut yogurt in there. We've got some goat's milk based one. We have, we've got the cucumbers and like all those different things that she can have. So we've got lots of different things. We've got fruit, which she can always have if she chooses to. And so that's there, but just again, make sure you're stocked up. Another way is this, while you are eating, be present. Put away the phone, because that can be stressful, looking at social media or text messages. And also try not to eat right after something stressful, right? First, take 10 breaths. I have a podcast on this as well. I would love for you to check it out. It is episode 2586. It goes through, all you're going to do is take 10 breaths. And I give you a specific way of breathing, which induces parasympathetic nervous system response to calm, fight, or flight. But you want to cut off that stress, and then you want to be able to be more present when you are eating. And being present, being more mindful when you're eating, I believe I have a podcast on that. I'll link everything up today at stephencabral.com/2595. You'll find everything there, big takeaways, etc. So sometimes we eat our food so fast, we don't even give time to the brain to realize we've had a food, to turn on hydrochloric acid in our digestion, and to say we're satiated. The goal in most ancient cultures was to eat slowly, chew your food at least 30 times to a paste, breathe between bites, enjoy conversation, and that would last then at least 20 minutes to 30 minutes for a meal. And so if you do that, then you actually have enough time to send the signals where the stomach begins to stretch a little bit that you are full or you've had enough, that you're eating until 80% full, like the Okinawans always said to do, the longest lived people. Really, really important that we look at that. And then one thing I do, I like to share this with my youngest daughter as well, is that I say this: if you want dessert, if you want something else, we can always get it, because I'm not going to deprive her. I'm not going to have her grow up when she's old enough to then overeat on all these different things. So I said, we can try really whatever you'd like, okay? Some things, like if it's neon blue, we're not eating it. And I explain why. I go through the different food dyes, and she gets it. But okay, she wants a piece of chocolate cake. Okay, so we get some flourless chocolate cake at a restaurant for dessert, whatever it might be. All right, so I say to her, I'm letting her enjoy it, and we oftentimes talk about this. I don't talk about it during, because I'm letting her enjoy it. But afterwards, she ate like 3/4 of it. She says, my stomach hurts now. And I said, okay. Like what I want you to think about next time, and it's okay. What I want you to think about next time, I say you're learning, is that enjoy the first bite. Really taste it. Enjoy the flavor. Enjoy the second bite. Notice, and she's only 8, so I'm planting seeds. That's all that I'm doing. But it's good for adults too, because we're big kids, right? By the third bite, the enjoyment is a little bit less. The only reason it's not a little bit less for most people is because they eat so quickly, they don't even remember the first few bites. But if you actually savor the flavor and you enjoy those bites and you're present, you don't necessarily get more satisfaction out of the 8th, 9th, and 10th bite. So you're able to enjoy some of your favorite things, but not the whole thing. And I found myself much, much better at that, over the last 5-10 years of practicing that. The last one I want to share with you is this, and this is on, it's just a more serious note, that emotional-based eating and disordered eating is obviously another level to that, sometimes requires real support, like a trained therapist. And there's nothing wrong with reaching out to someone to say, listen, I have an issue with this, and I want to get better. There's nothing wrong with that. I have always reached out to practitioners, coaches, instructors, mentors, etc., when I realized that there's not enough time in life for me to figure everything out. So if I can learn from some of the most brilliant people or people that have already done it or work with thousands of people, why wouldn't I want to do that? And also understand that there's no shame, there should be no guilt. You're not doing anything wrong. There's an imbalance inside of you. So you're looking at vitamin mineral deficiencies, maybe you're looking at gut imbalances in your microflora, or maybe it's trauma-based, and maybe there's something there that you want to work on as well. So again, never overlook the benefit of at least talking with another individual about this. Sometimes it can really just release a lot of what you've been feeling, and I definitely recommend it. So there's very little downside. just make sure you're working with someone that you can trust and that you're able to share truly how you feel. So using any of these 5 tips or all of these 5 tips, I think will be tremendously helpful in being able to curb emotional-based eating or at least reduce it to a greater extent. Hopefully this was helpful. As always, if it was, do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everybody. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.